Coach Taylor, in one of your podcasts, you mentioned shooters are not born, they're made. What did you mean by that?
Well, it's kind of what it says. It's, LeBron James was born, and I keep bringing him up because he's probably the greatest athlete I've ever seen play the game. Not the greatest basketball player, in my opinion, but the greatest athlete that's ever played basketball, and a freakish athlete. And then you've got Shaq, and you got those guys. Those guys weren't made; they were born. They were born that way. They rolled out of bed a freak show, in a positive sense. They rolled out of bed and they were just, gifted. Then there's others, like I've mentioned, that had to be born, had to be, made. You have to be a shooter. How do you become a great shooter? Kevin Durant, yeah, he's born that way, but his skill set had to be made. He wasn't a skilled player like LeBron. He has great height, but he doesn't have great strength. He doesn't have great athleticism, in my opinion. So he became a finesse player. He became a skilled player, a shooter. So those kinds of players are made. And what I mean by that is they have to put the work in. They were a lump of clay that had to be molded into this great shooter. And that took a lot of reps, took a lot of time, took a lot of sweat, took a lot of down days, bad days, took a lot of work, a lot of perseverance, a lot of energy, a lot of tenacity to get to that level. These guys weren't born shooters. Steph Curry didn't roll out of bed and just start banging threes. Kevin Durant, same thing. All these great shooters in the NBA, which there are not many of, they don't just roll out of bed and start making threes. They had to really develop that shot through time, over time. And I'm sure there was a lot of bad days. I'm sure when they were younger, they probably shot the ball the wrong way. They had to change their shot. Like Steph Curry there's an E60 with him where his shot was so bad, they had to change it his sophomore year, I think, of high school. So these guys had to put in the hours, put in the shots, put in the reps. There's a lot of players out there that aren't great shooters right now, but they can be NBA great when it comes to shooting if they put that amount of time in. Steph Curry has no attributes physically that put him above everyone else. You're not going to say, well, I can't be Steph Curry. He's just phenomenal. That's never going to be said about him. You can say it about LeBron. You'll never be LeBron. You might not ever be Michael Jordan. You'll never be Kareem. You'll never be Shaq. But you could be Steph Curry. He put the time in. He had that work ethic. I hope he doesn't lose that. But he had that work ethic where he just put shot after shot after shot after shot. And if you watch that E60 thing he did, it was pretty impressive because there was a lot of rough days in there. And he had a father that played in the NBA. And yet he still had a bad shot all the way up to his sophomore year of high school. So what happened after his sophomore year of high school until his junior year of college, a 4 or 5 year time span, he became the greatest shooter in the NBA's history, according to some. He became the greatest shooter in the history of the NBA over a 5-year period. So how does that happen? That happens with hard work. That happens with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It really does. So if Steph Curry can do it, why can't you? Why can't someone else? He's not exceptionally gifted athletically, so there's no excuse. If you want to be a great shooter, you just have to put the same time in he did. You have to find out what he did and how he did it. He wanted it more than others. He just wanted that type of ability. So he went out and got it. Nobody recruited him. He had one team that offered him anything, and there was only one, even though his father was an NBA player. He wasn't highly recruited. He went to college. He struggled his first game or two. I think he had 10 turnovers his first game. He ends up being the greatest player in college basketball. He ends up leading his team in the NCAA tournament. But it came down to the fact that he had that work ethic, and he became a skilled player. He was made. He was not born. So anyone out there that wants to be a great player, you can be made into a great player, but you have to have that same desire and work ethic.